Is your organization truly ready for AI? It sounds like a simple yes or no question, right? But the reality is actually incredibly complex. We're seeing this massive, industry-wide wave of enthusiasm for artificial intelligence right now. But at the same time, we're also seeing a surprisingly high failure rate when it comes to actual on-the-ground tech rollouts. So why is that happening? Well, it's mostly because teams are just vastly unprepared. They go out, buy a fancy new tool, hand out some logins, and expect a total revolution overnight. But here's the thing, being truly ready for AI, it means architecting a complete environment where it can actually thrive.
Because as it turns out, success requires way more than just software. Successfully bringing artificial intelligence into an organization is, surprisingly, a profoundly human endeavor. See, algorithmic success is entirely dependent on user adoption and workflow adaptation. It's not just about the underlying code. You can have literally the most advanced predictive model in the world, but if your people aren't trained and culturally ready to integrate it into their daily routines, it's just going to sit there, collecting digital dust, and nobody wants that.
So, welcome. Today on The Explainer, we're unpacking architecting AI integration, strategy, and implementation. We're going to move right past all that buzzword hype and transition from high-level AI theory to absolute boots-on-the-ground reality. We'll be pulling directly from our sources framework on how to architect this integration, and more importantly, how to actually make it function effectively in a real, living business environment. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Strategies for AI integration. 2. Key implementation steps. 3. Navigating change management. 4. Engaging key stakeholders. And finally, number 5. Putting it into practice. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into this with Section 1, Strategies for AI Integration.
The foundational takeaway from our source material is that successful AI adoption absolutely doesn't happen by accident. It demands a highly deliberate strategy way before any buttons are actually pressed. The text explicitly titles its focus as Implementing AI in Your Organization. And I want to highlight that word your, because it's absolutely critical. This isn't about how massive tech giants integrate AI, right? The strategy has to be deeply connected to your specific daily business reality. For instance, you have to account for your data maturity. Are your files siloed in ancient legacy systems, or are they already centralized in a nice, clean cloud architecture? A truly mature strategy actively audits those existing workflows and aligns the AI implementation directly with your organization's specific operational goals.
Moving right along to Section 2, Key Implementation Steps.
Now, before we just start listing out the exact tasks, we need to ground ourselves in what this architecture actually looks like. Based strictly on the source text, AI integration is the overarching process of exploring strategies, executing implementation steps, and managing people to successfully embed AI. Did you catch that last part? Notice that managing people is placed right alongside the technical execution as a completely equal pillar. It's that important.
The source material lays out these highly explicit sequential steps required for implementation. Step 1, explore strategies. Step 2, execute implementation. Step 3, manage change. Step 4, engage stakeholders. And Step 5, practice hands-on. This strict chronology is really non-negotiable. An organization simply cannot jump straight to Step 5 without first mastering the structural steps that precede it. It's like trying to build the roof before you've poured the foundation. Which brings us to Section 3, Navigating Change Management. Up until now, we've been talking a lot about frameworks. But here, we absolutely must acknowledge the very real human reaction to disruptive new technology. Change management is all about the people. Consider the source's observation of teams experiencing rapid tech shifts. Picture this. One team has AI forced upon them overnight. What happens? Well, out of fear for their job security, they resist, they complain, and productivity completely plummets. But then, picture another team. They are guided through a structured change management process. They're shown exactly how the AI removes their most tedious administrative tasks, freeing them up for higher level, more engaging work. They end up fully embracing the technology because their human concerns were systematically managed.
And this brilliantly illustrates a critical distinction made in our source material. The text specifically separates change management from stakeholder engagement because honestly, they require completely different approaches. Change management focuses on internal team adoption, guiding everyday users through steep learning curves and addressing their immediate needs like job security and upskilling. Stakeholder engagement, on the other hand, is about securing buy-in from leadership, external partners, or the board members. These stakeholders aren't really focused on the daily workflow. They need to see clear ROI metrics, cost reduction forecasts, and overall strategic alignment. Which leads perfectly into Section 4, engaging key stakeholders.
Think of it this way. If change management is about getting your engine running smoothly, stakeholder engagement is about making sure you actually have the fuel and the permission to build the car in the first place. You absolutely must engage stakeholders to secure the foundation of your project. To do this effectively, the source suggests establishing regular alignment frameworks. This could be things like monthly steering committee updates, or maybe clear KPI dashboards that keep leadership totally informed on the integration's progress. Because, let's be real, if leadership doesn't understand the continuous why behind the AI integration, your funding is going to dry up, or the project will just get deprioritized at the very first sign of technical friction.
All right, let's bring it all together in Section 5, putting it into practice.
The source material emphasizes two very specific real-world applications required to make all of this actually function. First, practical demonstrations, and second, hands-on practice. True AI integration requires way more than just passive learning. It involves really getting your hands dirty by setting up safe sandbox environments where your employees can experiment freely without any fear of breaking the live systems. It means running tightly controlled pilot programs to test specific queries and basically explore the platform's limits in a low-stakes scenario.
So the crucial point is exactly what the source insists on: practical demonstrations and hands-on practice. This actual physical interaction with AI tools is what ultimately solidifies the entire architecture we've been talking about. It's that magic moment where the high-level strategy finally clicks into place for the internal team. And it's also where the stakeholders can actually see those tangible benefits and efficiencies they invested their money in.
When we step back and look at the big picture, one inescapable conclusion emerges from all of this. The human element powers the technology. The core narrative of our source material isn't actually about lines of code at all. It teaches us that successful AI integration relies entirely on deliberate organizational strategy, compassionate change management, crystal clear stakeholder communication, and dedicated hands-on practice. It is, first and foremost, an architecture of people, not just software.
So, what will be your first step in integrating AI? Will you start by mapping out your strategy and auditing your data maturity? Or maybe by checking in on how your team actually feels about this new technology? You now have the exact blueprint derived straight from the source. The architecture is totally there. The next move is entirely yours. Keep learning, keep structuring your approach, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.